So thank you everybody for joining us today. Really appreciate you making the time this morning. I know life is busy, but this is one of those things that I'm glad you've made time for because it helps rewire how we think about some of the things that we've done and some of the ways that we tackle challenges in the past. And so as we go on this journey, I want you to forget some of the things that got you to where you are. And I want you to open your mind to a slightly new way of learning, a new way of thinking, a new way of sort of supporting your people. Because first and foremost, and I can't overstate this, this session is for you. This is for people in HR, people in learning, people in talent. And as I said in the first seminar, if you joined us for that one, this is where you can afford to be selfish. This is one of those moments where you go, very rarely do we get technology that is built for us as professionals. Very rarely do we have tools that enable the HR learning and talent function to excel and be better in their role. And often we have to make do with using the tools we provide our people with in order to enable the organization. And yes, this has absolute relevance to your wider population, your frontline leaders, your people in the business. But first and foremost, the immediate value for what we covered in the first session around Galileo, the agent, and also Galileo Learn is geared towards enabling us to serve our people better. So I'm going to do a quick recap, just a very fast recap in sort of what we covered last time for those of you that might not have been able to join us. And it's absolutely okay if any of you on this call would like to revisit some of those things and sort of catch up with us personally, we'd be more than happy to do that. But just so that the second part of this session and the main part of this session makes sense for you. And so one of the sort of the opening questions is 2026 is presenting us with the need for a bit of a crystal ball. It's going, look, things are changing at lightning speed when it comes to the world in general, that those two little letters A and I are having a really disruptive impact on much of our core ways of working. And as professionals in HR learning and talent, we are in some degrees asking to be sort of predicting the future and to go, okay, how do we build capabilities and skills for our people for a future that is constantly changing? And how do we do that? Because as things change, so do the pressure and so do the sort of the expectation for the organization where all of this disruption happens, and yet still the organization is not going to say, oh, it's all right, don't bother with the competency matrix. Oh, it's okay, don't bother with the personalized learning pathways, don't bother with developing leadership, because actually all of these things become exponentially more critical. Because we need leaders that can adapt, can be agile, can change as the world changes, and not just survive, but thrive in it. And so many of us, me included, start our day with our chosen frontier AI tool. That might be ChatGPT, that might be Claude, that might be Perplexity, that might be Gemini, it might be Copilot, it could be any one of a whole host of different tools in terms of helping us think through a problem. The challenge is, with those tools, much of the answers and much of the citations are coming from crowdsourced social media sources, which again, in our personal life, in our sort of core ways of working, that's okay, because often we are looking for opinion. When it comes to the strategy of our organization, however, that is where we cannot afford to guess. That is where we actually have to back things up with evidence, with research, with proven data partners. And this is what the Josh Bersin Academy and the Galileo ecosystem is anchored in. It's about creating trust and reliability. And so when you think about that and you think about the ecosystem, I want you to think about Galileo's two parts. One is Galileo the agent, which is your peer. It is your thought partner. It adapts to you dynamically based on the level of where you are in your career. If you're a CHRO, it'll help you build out the strategic direction for the organization. If you're a new HRBP and you're just trying to understand the mechanics of how you liaise with the business differently and how you be a bit more of a consultant, it will adapt. What we're going to spend time looking at today is Galileo Learn, of where that thought leadership and sort of that ideation turns into capability building. And so all of this is not just based on Josh's research, but he has 5 strategic partners that helps service the need of our function. And Lightcast is providing 20,000 skills that you can then build around. Oyster is giving us guidelines around local employment laws, around regional deployments. Rejig is looking at task data and exactly how work happens. You have SHL with their leadership frameworks, and Visier when it comes to global benchmarking. So again, all of this data is feeding into what it serves you in your experience. And so this is where Galileo Learn comes into the play. And you go, okay, well, how do I turn my corpus of content into something that I can build into capability? Because let's be honest, we have become a little obsessed over the last couple of decades with metrics like course completion, with modules, with that wonderful metric of learning hours completed. And then some executive goes, so what? And rightly so, so what? So you've done all of this, and then what happened? And so one of the core ingredients and the opportunities that Galileo unlocks is that ability to turn and convert everything you've created and dynamically adapt to it, and allow it to reorganize itself into something that helps somebody in the moment of need. And so you think about the old way, which is literally course completion, go through a couple of courses, you start a new organization, you go, okay, I've got 30 learning compliance modules to get through. I really hope there's something there of value, and I go click, 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 what's happening outside the window, click, 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 and I get through it, and I'm now compliant. Within a Galileo context, and what Josh is trying to bring forward is going, I have a question, I'm stuck with something, help me get a researched answer that helps me in the moment. But now I've got a bit more time and capacity. Can I build a personalized learning path around that subject matter and then start to build capability that helps me evolve? And Galileo is 4 layers. When you think about it as a technology, it's built on 4 key elements. The first one is the foundation model. And what powers your interactions within Galileo is ChatGPT, that is much of the linguistics of how things happen, and then Claude that helps create these agentic courses. Next comes the research layer. So Galileo comes with over 750 courses that are ready to be harnessed. And this is one of the sort of the key accelerators of impact, because you're not coming into a shell. It's not going, okay, right, I've got my new LMS and let's go build some courses. You're coming with 750 courses that immediately can be adapted, can be used, so it can be personalized in that moment to that user. You then have the organizational context, because every business is unique. And historically, we would store everything on SharePoint. We'd go, okay, go to this SharePoint side, go to this intranet piece, and to some degree, Copilot is starting to unlock access into that. But what Galileo offers is the ability to merge and leverage both your internal content, but also then the research content that comes out of the Josh Bersin Company. And then finally, the individual. It goes, how do I adapt to Matt? How do I adapt to Nadia? How do I adapt to Tom? How do I adapt to Dharam? How do I adapt to the hundreds, the tens, the thousands of individuals that need unique support? And so what we're going to cover are 3 things today. 3 things over the course of the next sort of 40 minutes. And then what I'd love to do is, just like we did before, at any point, if people have a specific question, if you could drop it into the chat, one of my colleagues will either answer it in the moment, or we can revisit it as a conversation towards the end. But we're going to be looking at this principle of agentic learning. How do we support somebody in their moment of need, and then how do we build that and turn that into capability? We're going to be looking at content authoring, because does this mean the end of instructional design? Categorically no. Spoiler alert. This is around how do you amplify the capability of the people that have spent years honing their craft to understand what a great learning journey becomes. And then finally, the so what, how do you bring this all together, and how do you move away from just having a prefixed dashboard to be able to look for insights in that moment to answer questions in the moment on the data that you need to see. Okay, are you ready to go in the platform? There's the theory, there's the stage, that's what we're about to go into. Now we're going to go into the live experience and actually see how this plays out for somebody going into the platform. So when I log into Galileo, I will see this. This will be my home screen. This is what I will be greeted with. This is where my day starts. Now, if you remember from the first session, one of the first elements to this is setting up your profile, where you tell it who you are, your role, your job description, your background, and all of that then feeds into this as well. And so here I have my programs that I've been assigned. I then have a whole range of different courses and content that's coming from the Josh Bersin Academy that I can enroll myself into. I have leaderboards, I have skills badges, and so on. And a lot of this will feel fairly familiar to a very nice, clean LXP or LMS. But the capability building starts the moment you open up your tutor. Now, the AI tutor has, as I say, two core purposes, two ways that it helps somebody. One is it's geared to becoming an agent, i.e. help me in my moment of need. And then if that user chooses to and has a bit more time on their hands, how do I turn that into capability? And I want to show you a conversation I was having earlier, where I was asking a question. I was taking on the persona of a CHRO who might have read a new cutting edge piece of research from the Josh Bersin Company going all around talking about talent density versus talent management. And so I asked it the question, say, what's the difference between talent management and talent density? And can you give me Middle East examples of where this shift might change how we budget for headcount? And so immediately it then starts to answer me. And as you can see, as it curates its answer, it's referencing every course, every module, every piece of research that it's drawing on in order to answer me. And so it goes, okay, talent management versus talent density. It gives you your headline around what that is. It then goes into how is this changing headcount and budgeting, and sort of the core workforce planning elements that I need to think about. And then finally, it goes into Middle East relevance examples. And this is where you will see a shift in the way it's answered and how it's curated different bits of research and information in order to create the most compelling answer for me in this moment. Because these two answers have been pulled from all of the Josh Bersin research. Now, because this is the Biz Group platform, I also have an answer that's been curated from the guidebook that we published all around AI transformation. And so it's starting to pull examples from Biz Group and the sort of the tools and mechanics that we did around us, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. Because it's supposed to look at not just the research from the Josh Bersin Academy, but also what have you as an organization loaded into this system to help empower your people. Now, once you've consumed that answer, I could leave. And I could look at all my sources and citations to see where it's come from. If I wanted to download one of those reports, I can do. But then it asks me, what would I like to do next? Do I have time to spend a bit more time, or do I need to carry on with my day? And here I might go, actually, you know what? I want to dive deeper into this topic. And so it starts to look at the different sources and elements that it used to curate its initial answer, and then goes, okay, well, let's dive deeper into it. But before I sort of serve up just a random course, I want to understand where you're coming from. Where are you starting? Are you new to these concepts? Are they completely alien to you? Have you got some experience? Or actually, are you really familiar looking for advanced strategies? So I'm a little experienced because I read the research, but these are relatively new and I want some deeper insights. And so now it's taken that first checkpoint to go, okay, this is where I'm gearing it. Now, how do you like to learn? Because everybody has different styles, everyone has different ways that content and learning resonates for them individually. And for me, I'm all around practical tools, I want real world case studies, and I want a step-by-step framework. So get practical with me, get pragmatic with me, and let me carry on. And so again, all of these little filter moments are starting to go, okay, how do I build something that's specific for Matt? And here I have a completely personalized course that helps me develop based on the unique context of what I wanted to learn in that moment. And this particular course, if I wanted to and engage with it, drops into my learning plans that are there for me, that I've personally curated and I can revisit at any point in time. And so that then becomes the first step of unlocking content. And in this step, it becomes almost performance support of how do I get the answer into people's hands based on who they are and what they need to do. Once I've unlocked that problem statement, that's the point I can then start going, okay, what are the learning journeys we want to build? What are the courses that we want to create that allow people to progress more naturally and mirror some of the learning journeys that we've created in the past through our over the previous number of years. And so I'm going to hand over to Archie now, who's going to take you through two aspects of this. What does this mean for the content creators, as well as what does that mean for the courses themselves? Archie, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Hello, everybody. I'm really excited to be able to show you the capabilities of Galileo Learn when it comes to creating learning experiences. Now, before I get into the demo, which I'm sure you're all eager to see, I just want to just go back to what Matt said. Like, how is this changing the way we design? Is this actually going to be taking away my job? Now, like Matt said, categorically no. For me, Galileo Learn is a tool that amplifies your expertise. All right, so when you think about it, the AI capability creates the structure, the foundation, let's say the starting point. But as L&D experts and experienced designers, you still bring in the learning science. You bring in the business understanding. You bring in the context, the nuances, the human judgment that makes a really impactful learning experience. And that's where the shift is happening for us as the L&D, as instructional designers, experienced designers. We are moving away from spending time sourcing and creating. Our role is now going to be moving more towards refinement, enhancement. How do you find relevance, quality checking, and making sure whatever you're putting out there to your learners is aligned to your performance goals and what your business needs. For me, I think the best the explanation to this would probably be, just keep this in mind, like the AI can build a road, but really it's you that builds the journey. You shape the experience. So before, like I said before, so when I'm walking you through the demo, what I want you guys to think about is, great, Galileo Learn is going to be creating some really great content, but where do I insert my expertise? What would I change? Because let's face it, AI is great, but it still needs that human element, that human refinement. I want you to be thinking about it from an instructional design perspective, like how could I be adding value? And most importantly, I want you to think about, how does this free up my time to focus on more higher impact work? Because the real opportunity isn't just speed, right? It's about shifting our time to a strategy, performance, and business impact. Right, so how does that sound? Right, thumbs up, can I see? Awesome, thank you, Matt, for your interest. Okay, so let me show you how Galileo Learn is actually helping speed the development of content, the sourcing of content, okay? So as you've seen, that's really showed you the interface. I'm on my home page. When you have a Galileo license, you get your own company team space. And this is where all of the creation of the course content happens, right? The interface is fairly simple, fairly intuitive. As soon as I'm in my team space, there's a button here that says create new. I click on that button. Now you already have inbuilt about 130, over 130 templates, I believe. Okay, some of the best templates that Josh Bersin's team has created is available to you to use. So you're not necessarily starting from scratch. You can actually browse through some of this content and go, you know what, I want to design an employee onboarding. There is a template already available. How do I leverage that? Now, as you start using Galileo Learn to develop your own content, you might think, oh, that was a really good template, and I want to be using this consistently across my department or whoever has the licenses. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to allow that to be my organization template. So you have the option to use your templates, or you have the option to start fresh, okay? So the purpose of this demo, I'm going to be starting a brand new course. And you get taken to the interface that says, let's create something new, okay? Now, when you think about it from a learning and development perspective, sometimes you've been asked, I think especially in today's world where new skills are being developed, we might not necessarily have the content available to us. We might not have materials available to us. What do we do then? And this is where Galileo Learn really comes to life, right? So if you see over here, you can see create a course from an outline, create a course from notes, conversations that you've had with stakeholders, or create a course from just your learning outcomes. Now, what I'm going to do here is just to say, create an outline. Now, there is already an inbuilt prompt that's talking to the AI agent and saying, all right, this is what I want to do. I'm not necessarily happy with that prompt. I want to go, hey, I don't want you asking me questions. I actually want you to give me options. So I can change the prompt and say, can you give me options. Okay. And then it's a conversation with my AI. It's like, yeah, great. Tell me what you're going to be developing around. And is it leadership? Is it tech topic? Is it compliance? I'm going to say it's leadership. And then it starts going on and asking you the next question. So who is it for? Is it for senior leaders? Yes, 100%. That's who I'm building for. These are the people that have licenses on the platform. These are the people who I'm trying to help develop. I'm trying to develop them around your strategic vision. Great. So it's having a conversation with you. And if at any point of time you think, actually, those aren't the options, you can have a conversation with it. And I'm going to say, I'd like you to suggest the topics, right? All of it. Now, I don't necessarily need to actually just choose topic. I can have a conversation. And you can see here very quickly from those options, the AI has already given me a list of topics and lists of modules and what falls under those modules, right? And it even tells you it's 40 to 60 minutes. It's taking some of the best findings from Josh Bersin and giving you what is the latest when it comes to that particular topic. Now, I might say, you know what, I don't even think you've asked me the right question. And one of the things I learned from Saesh and Matt is I always prompt the AI to ask me more questions. I say, hey, can you ask me more questions to make this a more impactful experience? And it goes, all right, let's take a little bit deeper. Okay? So that's one way of creating your content. I'm just going to go back. The other way you can create your content is I've had a conversation. Matt and I have just sat down. We decided the learning tech team needs to have a particular course around agility, around AI, moving from fear to curiosity. We've spoken about what are the challenges he's currently facing with the team, where he wants the team to be in the next 5 months. I've taken those notes down. Okay. Now, as an instructional designer, I'm obviously going to be asking the right questions. So what are you expecting to happen? What are the behavioral changes? Now coming back to these are the human elements of it. Yes, I can just take whatever Matt says and put it on the chat, but I'm going to be putting in my expertise and asking the right questions to make sure I'm creating an impactful journey. So I can just copy paste all of those notes, tweaked with business outcomes, target audience, industry, and then ask the AI to create a conversation, a content module for me. The third option is, again, this is all with content doesn't exist, right? So you go, right, I know exactly what my learning outcomes need to be. I just don't know where I can find the content. So again, really quickly, just copy pasting your learning outcomes there and going, right, help me out here. This is the learning outcomes. I can paste it. I can put my learning outcomes in there. And it will continue to ask me questions. Like I haven't mentioned target audience. So it's actually picking up on some of the gaps when it comes to creating a really impactful module. And again, have the conversation with the AI agent and just make sure you're filling out all of the gaps so you can create a really great, impactful experience. Now, I haven't really got to the building piece of it. I'll show you right now. So what happens when you have content, right? So let's assume you've got content, you've been delivering this content face to face, you've now been told you have to deliver, you've got to create a refresher, digital version of it. Actually needs to be delivered across various geographies. How do you go about that? Now, very quickly, from a Galileo Learn perspective, you can upload your course content. You can upload an article. Anything, it needs to be PDF team. So when you make sure it's PDF, this could be an interesting article that you read about what's happening with AI in learning and development. And you go, oh, that's a really good course that I want everybody in my learning and development team to be aware of and go through. I can quickly upload that particular article, and then I can ask it. Now, there are two things here. Oops, sorry. Let's do that again. Yeah. This, at a surface level, is probably enough for Galileo Learn to create content. Okay? But again, this is kind of where your expertise is still needed. This is kind of where you go, great, here is the article, but I'm going to prompt it to do exactly what I want it to do. I know where I want my learning outcomes to be. I know what that engaging experience is going to look like. So you need to be able to prompt the agent to be able to go exactly how you want to see it play through. So I've just done a pretty quick prompt over here. I'm not going to go through all of that, but I said, hey, can you call this course Leading in Moments That Matter? It needs to be 4 modules. Here are the types of the 4 modules. This is the learning outcome for module 1. These are the interactive elements I would like it to include, and so on for all 4 modules. And then I just say, right, thank you very much. Please create. And as you can see, it's reading the PDF and it is creating in the background. It is fairly quick. I think it takes about 5 minutes for it to start creating your content. So I'm not going to make you wait 5 minutes. What we have done is we have created the version over here. Matt, Saish, I can't see if anyone's asking any questions, so I'll leave it to you to answer.
Yep. I'm ferociously typing in the comments, Archie. I'm having a great debate in the comments.
You okay? Are you joking? Are you serious? Are you what? I can't even make out that.
No, I'm genuinely having great conversations in the chat. So I hope I'm not distracting from what you're doing on the screen. I'm trying to make sure that we don't have too much of an in-depth conversation in the chat while you're showing other stuff on the screen.
Perfect. Okay, amazing. Long as there's engagement happening, I'm more than happy. Okay, so while the AI is busy creating it, what I have done in preparation for the demo is I already created the content, so I can take you through what that experience looks like. Okay, so here you go, leading in moments that matter.
While that's loading, just to reiterate some of the conversation that has been happening in the chat. Question 1, first question I love from Mahre. Absolutely, you can introduce this to your company. Absolutely, you can buy this for yourself as well. So think about it on either lens. In terms of the question from Damien here, is this just for online self-paced learning? No, is the short answer. What Archie's walking us through right now is how you could author and build a catalog of courses that you could be connected together, that you could enroll your people in, just like you would with a more traditional learning management system. You can absolutely then start to engage and deploy this and get all of the reporting analytics, the completion rates, and that's something that Saish is going to show us at the end around the impact of this learning.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. Okay, so
yeah, just
go ahead, Mahre.
Hi, Matt. Yeah, actually, at times it's not easy to to deduce anything at company level because there's so many processes. It's not easy to get approvals and all. So that's why I asked this question: is it easy to get this on personal level and start using it, because it seems quite interesting.
You could literally sign up and start using it before the end of this call if you wanted to. It's that easy. So I've just dropped into the link, into the comments. There is a direct link where you can just literally create your account like you would with a ChatGPT, with a Gemini, with a Claude. Again, make sure you use the Biz5 code, because that will link you into the community here, as well as give you a little bit of a discount. Sorry, Archie, carry on.
Thank you very much. No, please keep the questions coming. Don't worry. Absolutely love the conversation. So what I do want to show you is, so what happened a few minutes ago, I prompted the AI to create a module for me. I've said I want it to be 30 to 40 minutes. I said it needs to be 4 modules. And this is what the AI has pushed out to me. So you can see here very quickly, it's created the 4 modules as per the naming criteria that I provided it. It has created some of the interactivities as well over here. And as I go through this, I can start looking at, okay, let me see what it's actually built. And you can see over here is that by the end of this module, it's done all of this from just reviewing my document that I've uploaded and looking at my instructions in terms of what I'm hoping to get out of this e-learning experience, the digital learning experience, okay? Now, for any reason I go, you know what, I don't necessarily like the way that looks or feel. You absolutely have the ability to format that in terms of your own branding, your own fonts. They have some pre-built branding as well over here. You can easily change the size of fonts, the way that you can move the positions as well. You also have the options to look at the other elements of the Galileo Learn that you want to incorporate into it. Okay. So you can see over here, you've got different layouts. So if you just want it to be pure text or you just want a pure image, you could. You can browse through all of these options that you have. There is an interactive element, which I absolutely love because it just makes the experience so much more engaging, right? Like nobody wants to go through just text and text and text. So and again, I think for me, that's where my learning experience designer hat keeps going on. Like, how do I make this engaging? All right, so Galileo Learn has given me all of the content, it's given me the layout, but I know my audience. I know what resonates. I am going to have to refine this, but at least I'm not starting from scratch. So one of the interactive elements that you can get within Galileo Learn is you can create a survey, you can ask people to drop in a one-word reflection element, you can get scenarios built in terms of, hey, I taught you how to do time management metrics, now let's see how good your memory is, here are some random scenarios, which quadrants would you put these in? You can look at more of how people reflect in terms of, I've gone through the module, this is what I'm going to be changing, committing to in terms of behaviors. There's also a scenario AI coach as well, which I have played around with and I really love. This is really good. I highly recommend if you're using this, do incorporate this into all of your courses. It's once you've gone through all the module, you can create an AI coach where you can give it a personality. You can say, hey, you're from this particular industry. The organization is going through massive AI transformations. Initiatives have been asked to be represented back to the board. What are you going to be doing? Your role is CFO, and this is me just giving my AI coach its personality, its persona. And then, because I've given it my persona, when my learners go through it and interact with this individual, all the questions that it starts asking in regards to the course is in relation to its persona. So you can role play live in terms of, right, so AI Josh will ask me, hey, Archie, so this is what we're planning to do in the next 3 days. What's your plan? And I can start writing on my plan. It will help tweak it, ask me questions, challenging questions, and give me feedback in terms of how well I responded to all of these. So you've got flip cards as well. You can add the quiz, the assessments if you like. Now you do have the option on one end to do these manually. Like I might say, hey, you know what? I want to add an interactive card. I want to make this a flip card. Let me delete this page and redesign it. That would be me starting from scratch. The easiest and quickest way would be for me to use this wonderful AI tutor that Matt was talking about, even within my course creation aspect of it. All I'm going to ask you to do is say, hey, can you make this a flip card activity element? Activity, let's put that. And it will do it. I'm no longer having to spend even 10 minutes. 10 minutes is precious time for me. So if you be like, I don't want to sit and design it. I don't think that's really good, but I'm just going to ask my AI to do it. I know what elements are incorporated into the Galileo Learn. Do it for me. And you can see here, it's starting to create it. It's giving me the view in terms of, do I want it, do I not? I think it's a terrible color, but I'll accept it. And as quick as that, you can see here, oh, the color's terrible, but I've changed the color as well. So really quickly, it's already changed my page for me. I'm no longer having to do the doing. I'm asking AI to do it for me. Equally, if there's any exercises where I'm like, oh, guys, you know what, thank you very much for Galileo Learn. You've given me the foundation. I am going to sit and now add things that are relevant to my organization. You can change anything and everything that's on this page as well. You might say that's irrelevant. I'm going to take that away. I'm actually going to edit this. I'm going to add images. 100% you can do all of that. I'm going to pause right now and just see if anyone's got any questions in terms of what's possible with Galileo Learn.
So one of the questions that came up while you were presenting here, Archie, was can we create a white labeled version of this? And so the answer is yes, you can create branded versions of the platform. But in case you were wondering, and you might see this particularly in the link, the current version of Galileo that you're seeing is powered by the Sana platform. Now, Sana, if you wanted a pure, like an empty version, I guess, of just the tool without the corpus of research and data that comes with the Josh Bersin membership, then you could just invest and connect with the Sana guys. Happy to put anyone in touch with those guys that'd like to be. And then just use the tool versus have access to all of the Galileo infrastructure. So there are sort of three ways you can engage with this. One is you get the full stack solution that we're showing you now with a fully branded custom version that's powered by everything Josh Bersin. You then can create a semi-branded version for yourself. Or then you could go, actually, I want to detach from all of those things. I just want Sana as a platform. Now, one important thing to note is if you do decide you just want Sana, that does not come with the agent that we showed in that first webinar. Other than that, any other questions from what Archie has been showing? Feel free to raise your hand or just come off mute.
I'll put it in the chat.
That too. Maybe everyone's shy. I thought people in HR Learning and Talent were extroverts and wanted to get up there and sort of help people. Very quiet.
Okay, no questions. Then I'm just going to add 2 more points, and then I'll hand it to my wonderful colleague, Sai, who's going to be showing you how the reporting aspect of this is going to look. So in terms of collaboration, we don't work in silos. While you're working on any of the you learn, if you're creating a course, you don't have to do it on your own, right? So I normally will collaborate with my colleagues. So for example, here I can go into settings and say, this is not just going to be all about me. This is actually, I need to have Matt's input, I need to have Vicky's input, I need to have Saish's input. And quickly I can actually add collaborators in here and say, you know what, Saish, I really need your help over here. Saish will then see it in his homepage as well. And we both can work on it together and we can create a really, really great learning course. The platform also has translation functionalities as well. So you can create your whole course in English if you like. You can publish that, and then equally you can just say, now that it's published, I want to create the exact same version, but I want to create in Arabic. That is also possible. Now, from a Galileo Learn, from a terminology perspective, what you generally will create is you'll create standalone courses. So that can be 30 minutes, 40 minutes, that's really up to you. I would highly recommend keeping them micro-learning. We all know why. So creating bite-sized learning modules. But you can have them as standalone courses because actually that particular concept is covered in that 15, 20 minutes. Or you might want to create a learning path like Matt showed, or a learning journey that I would call it. So there might be a series of courses that you create, but you feel them, they all club together, creates the best course when it comes to leading in being agility, for example, or mastering productivity, for example. So you can create your own learning path. Thank you, Saish, for collaborating. You can see you there. But you can create your own learning journey, and like most LMSs, where you have, it can be sequential. You can block one before the other one until the first one starts. You can have due dates. You can have milestones. So all of those functionalities also exist. So it really depends on what you think is fit for your audience and what's going to drive that business impact or the performance change that you're looking for. That is it for me. I can go on and on and on, but I know, Matt, you've only given me about 10 minutes, and I've probably taken 5 minutes more, but hopefully that you have found that beneficial.
All good.
Awesome. So in terms of what next, so you've developed this great course. You have assigned it to individuals. You can assign it by role, you can assign it by teams, you can create your criteria in terms of who needs to see what. You obviously want to see what the impact of those courses are. How are people engaging with these courses? Are people learning something? How do I actually give them something that helps further enhance their capabilities? And this is where Galileo's reporting dashboard really comes to life. So I'm going to hand it over to Saeed now to show you what the reporting dashboard looks like and the AI capabilities within the reporting metrics. Over to you, Saeed.
Thank you very much. Hopefully everyone can hear me loud and clear. So what we have seen so far has been the AI agentic view of or experience of setting sort of consuming the content as a learner, that what Matt showed, and then setting up the platform and the courses which Archie showed. The third part, which I want to show you, is where the nature of having agentic AI becomes useful in the third and eventual process of your learning journey or learning experience on Galileo Learn will be the reporting side of things. Now, I know all of us over here always are thrilled to speak to people who create Power BI dashboards because they are the most eloquent of people to have a conversation with, and we just love interacting with them. This is sarcasm if you cannot tell, but I can do that because I build Power BI dashboards myself, and the amount of times I have seen conversations go on with me, I wish there could be an easier way. And the whole idea of why we build Power BI dashboards and why that is a requirement is obviously we have providers like Galileo Learn and Sana as the learning platforms, but sometimes their reporting style or the way they have interpreted the reports don't really align with our requirements as a business. What we need to ultimately report back to our teams, our upper management, to our colleagues to actually not just report, but also keep a tab of what's happening and how can we help the learners. So this is the problem statement that I'm going to show you how you could solve with Galileo Learn's insights and reporting feature. So to do this, on the left-hand side, we will first go into the Manage section. And this is an area that you can get if you have the appropriate access to. It's only given to the admins or the sub-admins that are created on the platform. End learners do not see this if you don't want them to. When you click on Insights as the first page on the left-hand side, Sana has taken a very, Galileo Learn has taken a very sort of dashboard-ish view of achieving what the reports look like on the front, while also having the traditional Excel exports available for you whenever you need it. So I'm just going to switch to one of the dashboards that I created for this session, Galileo webinar dashboard. And in here, you see there's a dashboard that's been created for you to sort of something that I just created before this meeting. But at the same time, you do have a pre-created dashboards that you can go through. So Galileo Learn gives you some templated dashboards, so course deep dives, assigned courses, program deep dives. So depending on which features you are actually using within the flow, you can see reports on those elements, and you can just click on one of the reports. And if you want, you could duplicate that and save it for yourself and add to it if you want to. Now, these dashboards are again templated, so they are created by Sana and Galileo Learn. You could add your own filters onto it and make it really personalized to you. And how do we do that is something I'm just going to show you in a second. So let's go back to the Galileo webinar dashboard that I had created earlier. And within this dashboard, you'll start seeing that all of these different cards that you have, so total number of learners, monthly active learners, weekly active learners, this graph over here, this table, all of these individual cards, as you see them, we call them as widgets on Galileo Learn. So each of these is this entire dashboard is a collection of multiple different widgets that we have. And over on the bottom right, I can see there's some empty space. So let's go and add a widget right now. Okay. So let's go all the way up and we have an option called Add Widget. Now, this is the part where what I mentioned earlier, where you bring AI into reporting as well. This isn't going through a ton of Excel to just find one metric that you need. This is how do you go from natural language of what you want to see and create a widget out of this and create a metric out of it. So in the middle, I'm just going to type in, let's say, for example, average time spent, let's say broken down by user. Okay, so I'm just going to type in what I want to see. I'm going to hit enter. And what it does is it goes through all of the metrics that it has available to work with and starts creating this metric for me of the time spent by Archie. Clearly, Archie has spent a lot of time learning on the platform. Eleanor, Cynthia, all of these colleagues. You can go, okay, I actually don't want a table because I want to visualize it. I want to make it look nicer. So on the top right, you can just switch to bar chart, and it gives you a nice view of seeing that data in a much less strenuous way, where I can just go, okay, definitely the tallest bar over here is from Archie, 2 hours 8 minutes spent, and I can see this entire graph with the table underneath if I want one. Now, further to that, I can also sort of filter. I can click on Add Filter on the right, and just like how you filter on any sort of dashboards where, or historically it's been on Power BI, where it's been quite complicated to create filters, etc. In here, you can choose any of these existing filters. Like, for example, I can select time, I can put a date range, I can have filter it by user attribute. So if I want it for a certain role only, if I want to see it for managers, are my managers spending time on the platform? So I can create a filter for that. And if you're not sure how to build out these filters, there's an easier option for that as well. So I can just click on generate filter, for example, and I can go, okay, how do I want to see it for last, I don't know, 30 days. And if I hit enter, what it does automatically is it creates, you can also go from natural language to a filter where the AI understands what you're asking for, and it puts a filter of all of the learning time spent in the last 30 days. So from the first 25th of Jan to 24th of Feb, that is today. And I'm happy with this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to rename this on the top, rename this particular widget per user last 30 days. And that's it. And I really like this graph that I've built out over here. All I'm going to do is on the bottom right, I'm just going to click on Save to Dashboard. And all the way down at the bottom, I have that metric now. I could rearrange it. I could make this one slightly smaller. I know I have a bar graph, so I need to make that just expand that a little bit, and it's just like that. It's just playing around with this sort of a bento style, cards that are set up over here. I can move them around. I can change the orientation of where they sit. Let's put all the graphs together on one side, and all I can do is just the dashboard is created. It's all saved automatically. I can also download this entire dashboard as an Excel sheet. Again, if you do want to fall back on the traditional ways of reporting, you can always export this data into Excel or CSV. You can duplicate this dashboard and add multiple different filters to it. So maybe you want the same dashboard for different departments, for different roles. You can always add filters on top on here, and that will be visible for anyone you share the dashboard with, which you can do with this button on the right-hand side. So I'm just going to return the favor, Archie. Thank you for adding me to that course. I'm just going to share this wonderful dashboard back with you, and there you are. So I can either make Archie a viewer, or she can go in and edit that dashboard as well. And finally, the last element that I want to show you is, again, just to touch on the downloadable aspect of it. We also have reports as a feature on the left-hand side that Galileo Learn provides. These are slightly more traditional Excel sheets, but these are on a bulk basis. So this is every user, every single information that you would want against things like learner progress, your content summary, interactive elements. This is just helpful for you to get started in terms of transitioning from any usual ways of reporting into Galileo Learn's dashboards and widgets. But if you just want to see, this is how the Excel also looks like, which is the export from the reports section of the platform.
Two interesting questions that come in the chat,
Sure.
Saish, is sort of centered around the same thing. One is around measuring business impact and KPIs or ROI. The other is around analyzing costs and sort of cost analysis, benefit versus time spent on the platform, and how that might be unlocked using some of the platform data that we've got in here.
Yeah, that's interesting. So when it comes to adding, so effectively costs or those KPIs isn't something that is directly supported, but there would be ways to go around it by adding them as attributes on a per user basis. Obviously, there are certain elements of visibility that we need to manage, because this is something from an admin perspective will be visible to all admins. Or the usual way around would also be to gather the data that you want in a dashboard format and then do those correlations offline. I don't know, Matt, if you have a different take on that, but when it comes
exactly
to just
that.
adding those in, yeah.
At this point, it's a case of you may need to do some level of analysis in terms of export of the data you've got here and sort of cross-referencing that with other platforms and other system data you have. In terms of mapping ROI or sort of benchmarking against 4 levels of impact, one of the things that we've been talking to the team about is the application of learning. And so although it doesn't go straight to your level 4 and sort of into business impact itself, like some tools can, you can start to see the impact of behavior in a scenario-based interaction. And so there is the ability to create sort of role plays. And so you learn it, you engage with it, you learn the principles, knowledge transfer happens, and then an AI tutor can role play with you and sort of stress test your ability to apply that in that interaction. And so within this context, within Galileo Learn, that's probably how far you could get, Joanne, other than taking some of the exports that would feed back to Damien's question as well, around going, can we now benchmark this against our sales targets, around our NPS scores, and sort of doing some external benchmarking too.
You could also, just to add on to that, you could also create dashboards or custom collection of these metrics purely from an analysis perspective. So these wouldn't be the most prettiest data collection in the world, but that will be accurately built so that you can download this and with minimal friction do the analysis offline for your cost benefit. So that's something that we have seen other customers do from a data reporting perspective.
Okay, as we look to hold ourselves accountable to time, in the final 3-4 minutes, are there any other final questions that have come through? Because it looks like everyone's has a hard stop to their 12 o'clock meetings.
Yeah,
shortened
people are
day.
jumping off. I just want to add from an application perspective as well. So when you're creating a course, you do have the ability to ask learners, once you've completed the course, what assignment do you want them to do? So from that perspective as well, it's actually getting them to go out there and apply the learning and show evidence of how they've applied the learning. So that takes you to level 3 of an application perspective in terms of, what they've gone through this course, give them 2 or 3 months, 3 weeks, and let's see what they come back with when it comes to, hey, this is how I'm now transferring the learning from digital to workplace.
This is also where you might flip back into the agent. And so again, for those of you who weren't on the first webinar, the agent is, think of it like a very similar experience to engaging with a ChatGPT, a Gemini, a Claude, but anchored in all of the research and data you have available to you. And so taking the result of those experiments, those assignments, putting them back into the agent, and then starting to collaborate and ideate around ways of amplifying the impact of those experiments yourself. Okay, if there are no further questions, guys, I will give you your 2 minutes back. Get ready for your next meeting. Thank you so much for joining us. See you next time.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.